This courtroom was a war zone before the judge even had a chance to speak. Three sisters, all boiling with years of resentment, lined up against their own mother, who stood across from them, unbothered, at least on the surface, but beneath that cool exterior, guilt, regret, and maybe even a little fear.
Ms. Williams, you are here today with your two sisters because you say you're tired of being lied to by your mother, Ms. Liddell. You all claim she wasn't a good mother and say her promiscuous behavior is the reason.
Lisa, the youngest, had lived her entire life as the family's outcast, and now she was here to finally get answers. Her mother, Ms. Liddell, never seemed eager to clear things up, and now here she was, facing off against the woman who had kept her in the dark.
Ms. Lisa Williams, I'll start with you. Why is it so important to get down to the bottom of this today?
Well, Your Honor, I was always the outcast of me and my two sisters because, being the baby, I'm the youngest. And
Ms. Liddell wasn't exactly pleading innocent. She had abandoned her daughters, moved them around, and made choices no child should have to suffer from, but now, with her back against the wall, she wouldn't just roll over and take the blame. If she thought that would calm things down, she was dead wrong.
One thing I tell you about my three daughters, they are manipulated. Just like me, they are liars, just like me. It's the truth.
Like we're not even
It's
her
the
kids.
truth.
Chaos erupted. The sisters exploded, firing accusations like bullets. They had been tossed around in foster care and shuffled from house to house, while their mother lived her life however she pleased. Jasmine doubted their mother had ever even cared about them, and that's when things got ugly.
When you grew up believing that a certain man was your father?
Yes.
Okay, explain.
Okay, when I was growing up, family members would say, no, he's not your father. It was just a rumor going around that
Who is that?
James.
The man who's going to appear in court today and has been tested.
Lisa revealed the moment that shattered her faith in her mother. A chance encounter at a gas station, just a regular day. A stranger recognized her mother and called out her name. But when Ms. Liddell turned around, she had no clue who he was. How does a mother forget the man who fathered her child?
And Lisa, what information did you have?
well, I had my doubts, like when I was extremely little young. Me and Jasmine went to go see her father because he was, away.
He was away.
That was my first time ever seeing him. And that day when I saw him, I'm knowing,
And yet, here they were. Lisa had been carrying the weight of that moment for years, and today she was dumping it right at her mother's feet. But Ms. Liddell, she barely flinched. She admitted it. She had no idea who fathered Lisa, Jamie, or Jasmine. Could be one man, could be several.
Either they'll be separated away from me.
She didn't take a chance how to raise us. I was in 5 different homes. 5.
How could I raise you when I didn't love myself? What would I
She
gonna
didn't
do
try.
for you?
I have
What
the
nothing
one
I could do for y'all?
You didn't try.
Then, James Williams, the man they had all been told was their father, appeared via video call. He didn't believe he was their father, not even close. He had always had doubts, especially given their mother's past. And the worst part? He wasn't wrong to question it.
Do you believe you are these young girls' biological father? Do you believe that?
Deep in my heart, Your Honor, and I hate to say it, and it's hurting me to say it too, but no, I do not.
You don't act like it. It shouldn't be hurting you. He said no. You don't act like it. You sure don't act like it.
What are your doubts?
The sisters were livid. Years of rejection, suspicion, and neglect exploded in the courtroom, shouting, insults, tears, the kind of raw, unfiltered pain that even the most seasoned judge couldn't ignore. Judge Lake had seen messy cases before, but this was a different level of dysfunction.
You've never felt in your heart when you saw this man or heard about this man, this is my real father.
Yes, and that's why it hurt. That's why it's so
believing.
emotional. That's why it hurts so bad. He is the only father that I ever knew.
When the moment was right, Judge Lake slammed her gavel and took control. Time for the truth. Only the results could resolve this. All eyes locked on her as she held the envelope. Is James the biological father of the 3 women? Hearts pounded, breath hitched.
Mr. Williams, you are her father.
He did something. He straight dropped his head like,
It was out of happiness.
When it comes to Ms. Lisa Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father. When it comes to Ms. Jamie Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father.
The mystery of a lifetime is about to be revealed, but not without a storm of emotions first. A woman stands before the judge, shaking with uncertainty, while her mother stands beside her, barely containing her own frustration. The truth is hanging by a thread, and it's one that could tear their entire family apart.
Miss Kyler, you've brought your mother to court in hopes of finally finding out which of the two men in these photographs is your biological father. You claim it's been a lifelong mystery, and you hope it will end today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Kyler has grown up her whole life with doubts swirling in her mind. Since she was 5, she'd been told that Mr. Barros was her father, but the man never acknowledged her. He lived right upstairs, but always kept his distance as though she were invisible. Worse, he had another family, yet every month he dutifully paid child support, even though he couldn't bring himself to claim her as his own.
Tell the court, how did your doubts begin?
My doubts began as a child, around 5 years old. My mother telling me that Mr. Barros was my father. He lived right upstairs from us, but he had another family. He would not acknowledge me.
But the story was even more twisted. When she was young, his niece told her the truth. She confronted her mother, and the confusing puzzle pieces only grew more scattered. And then, there was that time he told her his truth. She spent years carrying the weight of uncertainty, and now she's determined to get clarity. Was the man upstairs her father, or was there someone else?
Upset about that, so I ran and took my best friend to my mom's room. I remember she had court documents about the DNA testing between Mr. Barros and my mother and myself. So I showed that to my best friend. I was like, look, he is my father.
Wow.
Also, I remember him taking me.
But now, decades later, after Mr. Barros has passed, Mrs. Kyler needs the truth. She's taken a step no one expected. She's going to court to demand answers. Ms. Mills, her mother, insists on the truth she's always believed. Mr. Barros was the father, but the situation grows murkier with every passing moment.
Ms. Mills,
Yes.
so you told your daughter the man upstairs, that's your biological father?
Yeah, I told her because we moved into an area where her dad's family was living at. So I knew when we moved down there around her grandmother, her aunts and them, that she was going to run into her dad.
The family tensions are heated as the women go back and forth. Mrs. Kyler's frustration spills over. She argues that her mother never had a real relationship with Mr. Barros. Sure, they were together at first, but he had an affair when she was only a few months old. Her mother kicked him out, and child support was the only thing that remained.
Your Honor, I actually went down to the courthouse earlier this year. I wanted to see if there was proof, if there was a test done, and they told me I couldn't see the file because it was sealed. The only person who could see it was Mr. Barros or my mother. When I told my mother that, she went back and told my sister, why is she doing this? Why is she bringing this up? He's dead. She needs to let it go. Like, how can I let something like this go? I don't even know who my father is.
The accusations keep coming. Mrs. Kyler isn't just questioning the truth of her mother's story. She's wondering if there's something even darker at play. Could it be that her mother was trying to hide the truth for her own reasons?
It's hard for me to believe her story when there were doubts and questions about who all of our fathers were, so.
How was that? How do you know?
Hello, I talked to his family.
Who family?
Mr. Barros' family.
How would they know?
Because you hang with them. They were your best friends.
They were not my best friend.
They lived with you.
As the tensions mount, the judge leans forward, her calm yet stern presence cutting through the chaos. She questioned Ms. Mills about her certainty. Why was Mr. Barros paying child support for a child he supposedly didn't father? Why was he so involved with the family yet never acknowledged his own flesh and blood?
Family acknowledged you? The family even acknowledged her. Why not him?
Because I took him to court for child support. He was angry about that. He didn't want them to attach his check. He didn't want to pay child support for her.
You feel like he was angry at you.
As the drama unfolds, it becomes clear that the truth won't be so easily digested. Ms. Mills sticks to her version of events, but there's something in her eyes that betrays doubt. The entire courtroom feels the weight of the moment. This witness is going to either confirm or deny those versions of events.
I started hearing rumors when I was about 6 that I had a potential sister because we lived in the same complex. I was kind of jealous in the beginning because I was his only daughter. So I approached him about it and he said it wasn't true. He always said it wasn't. He wasn't the father.
The daughter of the other potential dad also took the stand and sided with Mrs. Kyler. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone is waiting for the verdict. Finally, after all the noise, all the accusations, and all the painful revelations, it will be settled.
Your 29-year wait is over. The deceased, Mr. Barros, was not your biological father. The results for this particular testing between you, Ms. Tirado, and yourself, Ms. Kyler, The results were inconclusive.
This relationship was doomed from the start. It began with late-night hookups and no commitment, just two people indulging in the thrill of the moment. But 7 years later, here they were, standing before Judge Lake, drowning in one very pressing question. Is Mr. Phillips the father of 2-year-old Hope?
Ms. Wilson, you believe the defendant, Mr. Phillips, was always unfaithful to you and still holds a flame?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yet you claim he is the one who's always accused you of cheating, and he's repeatedly denied fathering your daughter, Hope.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Wilson was adamant he was the father, but Mr. Phillips wasn't buying it. He pointed at her history, her shady nights out, and most of all, a certain co-worker named Mr. Garcia, the man she kissed in a club, the man she went on trips with, the same man Mr. Phillips claimed looked exactly like Hope.
You say you believe that Ms. Wilson had sexual relations with a co-worker, and it is he who fathered her 2-year-old daughter. You claim the child looks just like that co-worker and nothing like you.
The courtroom was tense. Ms. Wilson was furious. She wasn't the cheater here. It was him who had women coming in and out of his apartment. He was a self-proclaimed bachelor living a life of indulgence, and yet she was the one on trial? The nerve.
How did your relationship with Mr. Phillips go so wrong?
Well, the way we got together just having sex. And so when you build a relationship like that.
That's pretty together.
Yeah.
But Mr. Phillips had his own reasons for doubt. He wasn't just making this up. He had proof, or at least what he believed to be proof. Hope's features were a dead giveaway, he argued. She had the same look as his biracial son. They have the same skin tone and the same features. It wasn't just in his head, he was sure of it.
This is my friend, he's holding my daughter in his arms, and approached me and shook my hands as just a basic friend.
The same man that now she's admitting to being in the club kissing.
Talk to me, yes.
And you think he's the father.
Judge Lake wasn't interested in the back and forth of their past. This wasn't a show about relationships. It was about paternity. Who was Hope's father? Ms. Wilson had her own receipts. Yes, she had been around Mr. Garcia, but did that mean they did anything? She was sick of Mr. Phillips controlling the narrative.
She knew in my whole delivery that I was a player, that I was a bachelor, that I was living that life when she met me.
It didn't backfire for me. How did it backfire for me?
Because once we got together, I could never be trusted. She quizzed me on everything I did.
Because
and in her mind,
he was the kind of man that would have.
The drama was hitting its peak. Ms. Wilson had lived through his wild lifestyle, his swinger parties, and his revolving door of women. She had tried to build something real with him, but it always felt like she was competing with the ghosts of his past. The fact that he was still holding on to them, even now, unbelievable.
So you move in with Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
And you all have a conversation and you say, you know what? I'm pregnant. We're living together. Let's try to make this thing work and have a real committed relationship. You agreed to it, Mr. Phillips.
I agreed to it.
Mr. Phillips admitted to having a collection of naked pictures, including that of his ex-wife. This is despite the fact that he and Miss Wilson had agreed to be serious about the relationship. In spite of his actions, he maintained that Ms. Wilson lied to him and that he cannot, in good conscience, claim the baby as his.
Your assertion, you believe her co-worker is Hope's father.
My anchor is the fact that I was lied to from the beginning of the relationship. I was bamboozled. I thought I was messing with a business owner.
Judge Lake was thrilled about the whole story. Well, who wouldn't be? She called in Garcia, Ms. Wilson's friend. Mr. Garcia maintains that Mr. Phillips is the father and that the most intimate thing he ever did with Ms. Wilson was kiss her, and that was because she was teaching him how to kiss. Nothing romantic.
Mr. Garcia,
yes, Your Honor.
Have you ever been intimate sexually with Ms. Wilson?
No, Your Honor. Only mouth-wise kissing.
Only kissing?
And her lips only, that's it. And tongue.
So silly.
But never sexually anything like that.
But none of this changed the fact that there was a child involved. Hope needed answers. Judge Lake had heard enough. It was time. The courtroom held its breath as she revealed the results.
And whether Mr. Phillips or Mr. Garcia is her father, Mr. Phillips, you are her father.
One day, Chanel Craig was a little girl clinging to the only father she knew. The next, her aunt was telling her to stop because, surprise, that wasn't her dad. But the confusion didn't stop there. Years later, another man entered the picture. This time, her mother introduced him as her real father. But was he?
You say that today is your last hope in discovering your true identity. Now, you state that one question continually haunts you. Is the man you've been calling dad for most of your life?
Chanel had spent her entire life piecing together a puzzle that no one seemed to have the answers to. Her mother, Janelle Craig, admitted she had been with multiple men at the time of conception, but she was confident about one thing. This man, Mr. Thompson, was the father. In fact, she had confronted him years ago, right in front of his wife.
How did you meet him?
I was getting out the foster home with my sister. We went to go stay with my mom and my aunt at the time. My dad came around. I was like, okay, where's the other man at? And they was like, well, this is your dad right here.
Miss Craig, who's this man she thought was her father?
That was the current boyfriend, and he knew he wasn't the father.
However, there was one little problem. Mr. Thompson did not remember. He doesn't agree. He is not the father. Chanel had spent her childhood bouncing in and out of foster homes, searching for stability, searching for identity. Then, at 10 years old, she was told that Mr. Thompson was her father, just like that.
We have a 10-year-old kid together.
Okay, so you remember this day?
No, I do not.
So how did you find out that
I remember
Chanel...
seeing Chanel when Chanel was a baby. She was a small little baby. She was one, but I came out of prison. She was a little baby.
He remembered visiting baby Chanel at her grandmother's house after getting out of prison. He looked at her, and the doubt crept in. Was this really his child? He wasn't convinced, and he told Janelle. But Janelle? Oh, she wasn't trying to hear that. She stuck to her story. He was the father. C'est fini.
Did you believe this is my child?
No.
Oh.
I didn't. That's why I told her mother.
And
You're
so
lying. You never told me that. And I don't even believe you went to my mama's house. Where was she living at the time?
So, for years, Mr. Thompson stayed away. He wasn't trying to play dad to a child he wasn't sure was his. But then, one phone call changed everything. Chanel's aunt reached out, and just like that, he came back. Because deep down, he knew there was a chance. But their relationship was strained, awkward even.
She wouldn't come with me alone. I just felt like that I wanted to spend time with her. She didn't want to spend time with me. She wanted to bring other people, and I couldn't deal with that.
You can understand.
Yeah.
That's...
And her mother? She wasn't any better. Janelle claimed she raised Chanel on her own and played the role of both mom and dad. But Mr. Thompson fired back. How could she claim that when she wasn't even around? The real caregiver? Chanel's aunt.
That's mother and daughter, but how do you come in from being gone 7 years and say, oh, you can come?
Dude, but you gotta look at, I took care of her when you wasn't. You wasn't around.
You weren't either.
Around with these
I played both parts. What are you talking about?
And this is what I go through.
The entire situation was a mess, and the tension in the courtroom was thick. Janelle and Mr. Thompson were throwing accusations back and forth like a game of hot potato. Lies, betrayal, abandonment. It was all laid out for the world to see. And through it all, Chanel sat there, the only person who had everything to lose.
So you came out of the foster care system and you were living with...
Yes.
And all this time, you think Mr. Thompson is your father?
Yes, but when I got back in touch with him, he was telling me that he was saying that he didn't think I was his.
Yes, there was another man. And yet another man. She had ruled the second man out because a DNA test had concluded that he wasn't the father. So even though she saw similarities between her and the man, she had to accept the results. But now she's angry.
Are you asking your mother? Are you upset with your mother?
I'm mad at him because they should have got it done when I was born, and they didn't get it done. He came back into my life when I was 10.
At the end of the day, this wasn't about Janelle. It wasn't about Mr. Thompson. It was about Chanel. And then, finally, the moment of truth arrived. Judge Lake held the envelope in her hands. The room was dead silent. Was Mr. Thompson really Chanel's father?
Mr. Thompson is not your father.
Sorry, Neil. You can give me a hug. It don't matter. I'm still your dad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The courtroom was filled with tension as Mrs. King Rajat stood on the witness stand, her voice trembling with emotion. She was here to prove one thing. Her daughter Destiny was her husband, Mr. Rajot's biological child.
Mr. Rajot, you claim your wife had an affair shortly after you returned home. I have no idea if her child is yours because the timing of her sexual encounters with...
For Mrs. Rajat, the very thought that her husband would deny their daughter was eating away at her. She described the painful experience of seeing her husband shower affection on their other children while Destiny was treated like a stranger in her own home. His denial, she argued, wasn't just an attack on their daughter, it was tearing their family apart.
Tell the court why you're here today.
My husband, that our daughter Destiny is in fact his. It is tearing our family apart pieces by pieces because he denies her.
What does he do?
He doesn't interact like he does with our other children.
But Mr. Rajat wasn't backing down. He claimed that the child wasn't his, and his doubts were fueled by one thing: Destiny's striking appearance. Unlike the rest of the family, with their brown hair and eyes, Destiny had blonde hair and blue eyes. Mr. Rajot argued that there was no way she could be his.
You know, all of my family and her family all have brown eyes, and this child has blonde hair and blue eyes. put a diagram together for you
You
to
have a
take look at.
diagram?
Yes.
Jerome, can you get that, please?
Sure.
You're such a...
You're a liar.
Mrs. Rajat shot back, suggesting that Mr. Rajot didn't know his own family's history. She mentioned that he had been a foster child, unaware of the genetic traits further back in his bloodline that might explain Destiny's appearance. But Mr. Rajot remained firm in his belief that Destiny didn't belong to him.
Okay,
That's
but
correct.
he also is failing to tell you at the moment that he was a foster child, so he doesn't know all of the family. So maybe somebody back in his family he doesn't know.
But Mrs. Rajat had her own evidence. She insisted she hadn't cheated, no matter what her husband believed. She admitted to talking to a man from her past, but she swore on her love for Mr. Rajat that their talk together had been platonic.
King Rajot, have you ever cheated on your husband?
No, I have not.
Never talked to a guy? Nothing inappropriate?
I've spoken to a man, yes, but I have never cheated on my husband. I've never had any sexual...
Despite her words, Mr. Rajat was certain she had betrayed him. He recounted a text message from her phone to an old childhood friend and an alleged night out with another man, both instances enough to fuel his accusations of infidelity. In his eyes, the possibility of cheating was real.
My childhood friend that I grew up with, more than half of my life, just like I've known her. One time we was at a bar and she had actually sent a text.
It seemed like the situation was spiraling into a chaotic back and forth of accusations. Mrs. Rajat accused her husband of being unfaithful, citing the time she had discovered he had an STD while pregnant with their first child.
That actually Mr. Rajot has been the person that's been unfaithful in this marriage. So please tell us, how do you know that?
Well, our first child.
While he denied cheating with her family members, she believed otherwise. She thought he had a secret, and it was even rumored that he'd been involved with her sister. Her accusations were bold and personal, and the courtroom was on edge as she questioned whether he'd betrayed her with someone closer to home.
In the past, I have.
Many of times. As a matter of fact, there's a possibility he has a child by dirty, nasty little troll that he cheated on.
That's not true, Your Honor. I've been with this same woman for half of my life.
As the court prepared to reveal the results of both the paternity test and the lie detector test, you could feel the air thicken as everyone waited for the results, the tension building to a breaking point. Mrs. Rajata's face was a mix of hope and fear, while Mr. Rajat stood, his eyes never leaving the judge.
Mr. Rajot, you are her father. What are you feeling right now?
I'm just mad because he's denied our child for so long. And I knew, because I'm not nasty. I've been faithful to this man since I met him.
That you passed. You've never cheated on your husband. He did not sleep with any of your family.
Ms. Lima came to court claiming that Mr. Anderson, yes, the same Mr. Anderson who was standing beside his devastated wife, was the father of her baby. She admitted she made a terrible mistake, but insisted it was a mistake they both made. Because, surprise, surprise, he never mentioned his wife.
You admit to making a huge mistake and hope it doesn't affect your baby Christina. You had an affair with Mr. Anderson, who is married, and believe he's your daughter's father.
Mr. Anderson, on the other hand, was clinging to the idea that this was just a one-night slip-up, a single night of weakness after an argument with his wife, nothing more. He swore that after that night, he'd never see her again. But Ms. Lima, she wasn't having it.
And you're hoping you're not father today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Lima, tell us how you got yourself into this mess.
Yes, Your Honor. It all started from a Facebook message when Mr. Anderson was messaging me on Facebook. So we started being friends online for about a year and a half.
That's when Mrs. Anderson's face fell. The reality of it all hit her like a freight train. This wasn't just some fleeting mistake. This was betrayal, deep and ongoing. And the audience? They gasped, they cringed, and they watched as Mr. Anderson squirmed under the weight of his own lies.
So before this, did you know he was married?
No, I did not know he married. He did not show any signs of marriage or anything.
Mr. Anderson, was this true?
I'm just sorry, Your Honor. I just want to say I'm sorry to my wife and my family and my kids.
Anderson, now cornered, can barely keep his story straight. First, he insists it was just one night, just a one-time slip-up. But Lima, unrelenting, fires back, exposing the truth. She was at his house more than once, knew all about his family, and even described the furniture in their home.
You say this only happened this one night.
It's one night. It was a one-night stand.
You never saw her again?
Never saw her again.
Ms. Lima?
That's wrong, Your Honor. That's wrong.
How often would you see Mr. Anderson?
We've seen each other for 2 years, every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays.
He admits they did, in fact, spend several weekends together, but now he's trying to backpedal, insisting he's a family man, and the tension in the room is unbearable. His wife, sitting beside him, can barely keep it together as she listens to the truth about her husband's betrayal.
Meaning that this continued past just one night.
Oh my God.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Anderson, I'm gonna remind you, you are in court and you need to tell the truth.
Then came the real bombshell. Ms. Lima admitted she hadn't only been with Mr. Anderson during the time of conception, there was another man. Oh, but it didn't stop there. She and Mr. Anderson had been intimate again while she was already pregnant. Now it was getting messy.
And when you find out you're pregnant, who do you tell?
I went to Mr. Anderson at first. I went to his family at first. I couldn't contact him, so I went to his family and I got rejected by them. So I was like, well, you know, that really hurted me. So I was just like, well, let me move to the other person that I had sex with during that time.
Oh, hold on. Let me understand this.
The lies keep piling up, and everything starts to look like a tangled mess of bad decisions. Anderson's wife, visibly shaken, can barely hold it together. She's been with him for over a decade, building a life together, and now everything seems to be crumbling before her, and yet she can't seem to get the truth from him.
Testimony you heard today been different from the understanding you've had?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please explain.
Once we messaged each other, I asked her for her phone number because I want to talk on the phone. You understand? And when she was telling me the things that she was telling me.
Soon enough, Mr. Scott, the other man in the question, was ushered in. The man, Mr. Scott, told the court how everything went down from the time he took flowers to meet Ms. Lima to when she told him that she was pregnant.
3 months later, she was already about 2.5, 3 months pregnant when she told me that she was pregnant.
And she told you herself?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when she told you, did you think this is my baby?
At first I did, until she started telling me about.
Ms. Lima had told the court that either of these two men is the father of her baby, and now there's no more room for doubt, no more lies left to tell. And then, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the DNA test results.
Mr. Scott, you are not her father.
You just stay right here.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are not her father.